order. All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Moving on to minutes. We need a approval for the minutes of the regular board meeting from October 13th, 2025.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. On to the approval of the minutes of the special board meeting that was held on October 27th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the special board meeting minutes.
Second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Moving on to the finances. I need approval of the general fund vouchers 82,738 through 82,825 and wire transfers 2026-0109 through 2026-0154.
I move to approve the general fund vouchers and wire transfers as read.
Second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. And public comments. Do we have any public comments? Nope. All right, moving on to the Wisconsin MLSS recognition by CISA 11.
And for our spotlight on education, I'm going to have Mrs. Anderson take the lead here on this, but this was a neat thing that we became aware of like late summer, probably August, and just once it got finalized, we wanted to share it with the board.
All right, so, excuse me, Wisconsin MLSS stands for Wisconsin Multi-Level System of Supports. It's a framework, if you have heard of RTI, response to intervention, if you've heard of PBIS, which is kind of the behavioral side of that. Wisconsin now has a different umbrella where it all falls under the same, because behavior and academics do truly go hand in hand. So we, over the course of the last few years, have been working with CISA. We were identified as having some large gaps in our special ed population. And so to work through that, we have gone to some different trainings. Mr. Melberg's high school brought a group of folks to the training as well, and they are working on their own things, but the elementary is getting a little praise tonight. So throughout the last couple of years, we have worked directly with some CISA consultants, and especially with our early reading. And with that, it wasn't just focused on our youngest learners. We actually did a building wide, because some of those building blocks that our littles need to know maybe were some gaps in some of our older students as well. So it was a building wide effort that included, if you open the flyer there, it included collecting data. We had walkthroughs where we had a look for form that had the different elements of the lesson and strategies that we wanted all teachers to have in place. And then we just had teachers on a teacher team go through and check these off. And so we're just collecting data. Are we seeing these certain things of best instructional practices? So we would use different meeting times to train staff, and then we would always follow it up with, okay, we're gonna come on out. Kids were very used to other teachers just popping in and out. It's just the way we operate. And the big thing we were focusing on was it's called the gradual release of responsibility, where we had different strategies. The main one was kind of the I do, meaning the teacher leads, we do as a class, and then you do, the student has independence with the activity. So we started with just the teacher thinking aloud. Some of our students don't quite know how to interact maybe with a text, like what should my brain be thinking? What kind of questions should I have? So we did a lot of teacher think alouds for that I do strategy, and then did some sentence starters, some question getters, and then it moved into student-led discussions. So it was quite a process, and really it's been a number of years in the making. And like Mr. Peterson said, later at the end of the summer, CISA reached out. They needed to choose a district to highlight at the state level. Each CISA chose one district, and out of all of the districts they could have chosen, they chose Clear Lake School District. So it was great, I think, for our teachers to realize that the efforts they're putting in don't go unnoticed, and it is proving success for our students. So it's been a wonderful process, even though we had that initial with the gaps. But if we would not have had that identified, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. So.
Yeah, it's been a rewarding experience. You probably remember a couple of years ago we talked about the IDA notification, but yeah, we've talked about at length with the CISA consultants what a rewarding experience it has actually been to get the support from them. So kudos to the principals and the staff for all their hard work on that.
Okay. So moving on to approvals of resignations and retirements. Looks like we have one.
We just have one resignation from a coaching position. We have Lacey Manti is resigning from her assistant track and field coaching position.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation.
Second?
All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Approval of hires, looks like we have none.
Nope, nothing there.
Did we get an assistant basketball?
I don't believe so. Not yet. I think there's still some things in the
I was
works
just
for that.
curious, I was kind of waiting.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, no.
Practice started tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our agenda, the approval of early literacy remediation plan.
Yeah, so this is, as noted there, related to Act 20 and all the work that's been done in the background from that. So we've got Courtney Luke here, who is our new Title I teacher and reading specialist, and she and Teresa, we'll turn it over to them again, and they will just talk about probably a quick overview of reminders of kind of what Act 20 is all about, but then just go through some of the highlights. This is something that every district needs to have board approved statewide as part of Act 20.
Yes, so Act 20 again is focused on the early literacy skills, 3rd grade and under, and there's a number of things that need to be done. And it's not just compliance, it's good instruction. It's making sure that our students are getting 9 different components of what great literacy instruction needs, those building blocks to be readers. So this early literacy remediation plan was something that we had worked on quite a bit at a CISA day back in the spring, and Courtney and I have been familiarizing ourselves with it now that Courtney has taken the helm of this. But just a reminder that the different pieces of the plan, and Courtney will highlight just a couple of things, is we just need to make sure we have a diagnostic, we describe the interventions, we talk to parents about how we monitor things, and then we just need to make sure that we are in compliance with all the pieces of Act 20, and Courtney will highlight just a couple, not the entire.
Courtney, do you need us to kind of shut the door a little bit so you can think back there a little bit? We'll leave it open a crack because it is open, but it's just so you can think while you're talking. Put the vacuum in the back.
Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of unpack some of the more essential sections on the plan. Section 2 goes over the reading screener. So that is, we give Ames Web Plus, and that was chosen by Wisconsin DPI, so all schools in Wisconsin use that same screener. And that is given to junior kindergarten through 3rd grade students. Junior kindergarten takes it twice a year at the beginning and end of the year, and then kindergarten through 3rd grade take it 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. And then the next section 3 goes on to talk about the personal reading plan and then the student supports. So the personal reading plan, which we call the PRP, students who score below the 25th percentile are considered at risk. And then they are given those diagnostic testing to kind of find more of where their literacy gap is and help dig a little bit deeper on where we need to begin with them. And then that's when a reading plan is created by myself and the classroom teacher. And then those reading plans they include a summary of their assessments, both strengths and their areas of growth. Their literacy goal is included in that plan, and then their instructional services and what myself and the teachers will do to help get to those goals. All students participate, not just students on PRPs. All students participate in a 30-minute block of win time, which is what I need. So it's a little bit more individualized time to meet the students' specific academic needs for both reading and math. Right now, junior or kindergarten through third grade is a little bit more focused on reading during that win time, but we do touch on math. And then during that win time, that's when specific PRP students will be given their interventions to help meet their literacy goals. Some of those interventions are given by myself and some are given by the classroom teacher. And then moving on to section 3, it looks like. So going off of that, also students with PRPs are progress monitored once a week through Ames Web Plus. And then that data after 10 weeks is updated on their reading plan and then given to parents after the 10 weeks. And I think this has helped us communicate more with parents, and I mean, we are on a pretty strict prompt deadline on when parents have to have those notifications and get the screening results and things like that. This year we were able to do it during the fall conference, which was helpful because we could have a face-to-face conversation with parents and really go over their personal reading plan with them, and it was just easier for them to understand when you were talking to them rather than just sending it home and then reading it. And then again, ongoing 10 weeks of progress monitoring, and families get those updates after 10 weeks. And then continuing with communication with families, we get families involved in literacy nights, getting them involved in their students' reading and supporting them reading at home. And I think it helps them understand too that Title I is here to support all students and not just students that have a reading plan. And then kind of that final piece of the plan is the completion. So students in each grade level, they have a criteria that they have to fall under in order to complete their reading plan. I won't go into too much detail on that, but basically they have to show 3 points of data above grade level on their progress monitoring, and then at the next screening period they need to score above the 25th percentile. And that would be coming up in the winter, December. So that is kind of a very brief, quick overview. Did I miss anything, Teresa?
No, I mean, it's pretty complicated, but as you can hear, Courtney has jumped right into this world, has a lot of background in just early learning, but just has been seamless to just have her step into this role as a leader. So it's been wonderful to have her.
And that's, I would say, too, compliments to the whole team. I know last year a lot of work was done, and when Mrs. Gillick was still here, and you worked with her, and then you have Courtney coming in, and it has been a very smooth transition with Andrea helping and Courtney jumping right in, and it has, because it's a big deal, Act 20 implementation, and to have a transition at that time is a big deal, and so but it's gone extremely smoothly. So compliments to all of you for your work.
Does anyone have any questions?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, Courtney, thank you.
Thank you.
So
We need to approve that, right? Yep.
D. Yep.
All right, so we need to approve the early literacy
Oh, yeah, we gotta approve, see,
remediation
sorry.
plan. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the early literacy remediation plan.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to approve the early literacy remediation plan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business then is the review of the 25-26 tax levy certification.
Okay, so, all the work of the board and, in the business office over the last few months and getting to that point where we set that levy and approve that budget. I always joke it's kind of anticlimactic when we go in and submit the numbers and kind of push play and you push submit and there you go. But anyway, just like to share with the board as a follow-up, the document that's attached just shows how, that entire levy that we submit and how it gets divvied up among all the different townships, or all the different municipalities, I should say. So, and it depends on, for example, Vance Creek has just, 9% of the school district property, so their total tax levy, $325,000. Or I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry, Vance Creek is 0.8%, $28,000, the tiny one there. And so, or no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it wrong. Bifocals here aren't helping me very good. So, New Haven being just 0.8% of the property, so they just have a $28,000 levy, and then switch it to, let's say, the town of Clear Lake, $896,000 of the levy. So again, it's all about the apportionment of what percentage of the township is in what school district and so on. So it's just for you to see the actual numbers that get spit out by the
Property size or population?
property value.
Property
Property value. So yeah, so the what is the fourth column in is the total tax equalized value of that municipality. In that percentage, and then the percent of it, and then it breaks out into the amount of tax levy for that municipality. So again, no action or anything, just a point of interest to see the actual numbers that come out of that. So
Did you push return already, Chris?
I did it right away the next day, the next morning, and Eddie was in as clerk to sign the levy certifications by I think noon the next day after you guys approved it. So.
Maybe next time we'll have to go live on that just so we can feel a little bit more.
It's exciting enough. It is.
To have it done. Yeah. Well, very good. So, any other input? All right, then we'll move on from there to our approval of teacher, support staff, and administrator compensation updates for 25-26.
Okay. So, this reflects conversations that the board has had in closed sessions talking about staffing and staff compensation over the last month plus, reflecting budgetary realities and looking at the possibilities and looking at maintaining a balanced budget, not a deficit budget, and the basically the directives that we had to build into the budget so we could have that in place before we, when we went to approve it. So we had built into the budget a teacher salary increase, so for each teacher a totaling 3% increase, which includes both the annual step and level advancement. Plus the percentage increase comes to a total of 3%. So again, when a teacher progresses from say level B to level C as they go through each year, they get there's an increase that goes with the step. So taking that increase into account plus a percentage increase on top of that to have each teacher achieve that 3%, which was basically the CPI. And then for the support staff and department leaders of the support staff as well as the administrative staff was a 2% increase per position. So increase on salary or increase on a given wage.
And if I could add too, just so the public realizes, we had that special meeting where we talked about this stuff at great length for an hour and a half that night to try to figure out how to take care of all the different stakeholders in the district, all the employees, the teachers, the support staff, the administration, as well as the community and the taxpayers to try to carry ourselves into following years in the current climate that we're in. Things are changing a little bit. Money is short, and they got us starving against. That means we got to be wise with our money, and I commend the administration for doing the things that they've done to try to get our budget cut to the point where it is, so we could honor our employees by trying to give them as much money as we can. So
I think we'll continue to communicate to the community about our realities of our declining enrollment and the state aids that we get or don't get, and the impacts that those things have on our budget.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add at this time? Okay, so then I will entertain a motion to approve the teacher support staff and administration compensation updates for 25-26.
And there's some kind of suggested wording in there that for a motion.
I move to approve for the 25-26 school year a teacher salary increase totaling 3%, and that includes the annual step level adjustment, support staff wage increase of 2% per position, and administrative and department leader salary increase of 2% per position.
All second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve as read. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. All right, now the next item of business then is the review of collective board norms and commitments.
So I'll just turn it over to the board, but this just to remind people listening that this was something that the board worked on together collectively fall of 2022, did an activity at a retreat to basically spell out, the norms and commitments are the board's kind of commitment to each other or with itself to say, here's how we're going to conduct ourselves as a board, as a unified body, governing body. And I just would say that it's impressive that we have this for our board in Clear Lake, because that is, it's a best practice to have that, and it's a compliment to the commitment of our board and the way our board wants to work together, that they even created this document, or you put this together. So anyway, I'm going to be quiet, just turn it over to the board to see if you have anything you want to discuss or talk about or change with it or whatever.
So since we created this thing, I think this is the third time this has come. We created it, and then it's been on our calendar to renew the conversation, and it came up again, and Chris and I were talking whether we should do it or not, and I thought, well, it's always a good thing to put this kind of thing in front of us, just to kind of refresh. So we put it on the agenda, and for us just to refresh our minds on it. I got to say that every one of the individuals on this board has been a part of making this board as successful as it is. I think there's a tremendous amount of respect for each other, and that goes a long way, and that'll trickle all the way through our employees down to the students' progress, and we've seen when it goes the other way. So I don't speak that lightly. So I can thank you guys for being who you are, but I just I kind of thank God that we have such a good, high functioning board in this Clear Lake. So does anybody want to speak to the norms in the to this matter at all? Okay, so then I just suggest in your own time, if you want to just run through the different points on there, and we'll just continue on trying to make Clear Lake the best school district in the nation. All right, with that being said, the next item of business is the discussion of mobile phone policies.
Okay, so last month's regular meeting, Mr. Frenchu had the future board agenda item suggestion to talk about this, and it's been a topic of conversation quite a bit in the last year or so, kind of nationwide, statewide. Just more conversations about it in the public, in lots of media, in education journals and publications, and then actually just a week or two ago in Wisconsin, there's been some legislation that's been pending since going back to last spring about a a law, and then Governor Evers signed it then last, well, again, 2 weeks ago probably, but basically it requires all school districts in the state to have a policy that, for cell phones or for mobile phones, that restricts their use during instructional time. So going back to when the proposed bill first came out, you know, it was looked at by a lot of people. You know, I remember looking at it with other administrators, and you know, I know that for us it has no impact on our policy. Our policy already complies with the new state the state statute. So that's a point to get out there, I think, for people to know, is that it doesn't have any, you know, the new law doesn't have any impact on us. And in fact, they surveyed districts and it didn't really impact 80 or 90% of districts already said, we already do this, you know. So that's out there. But also just, I know the board wanted to just, you know, have a conversation about the topic, so.
Well, the fact that that came forward is what prompted me to suggest we put this on the topic and talk about. And I wanted to share that meeting that we were at. We had the junior high meeting at when my son was coming in, or no, this might have been Frankie coming into junior high. And you have the parents meeting, and the principal goes through all of, Mr. Melberg goes through all of his points, and one of them was cell phone use and that type of thing. And I just kind of, I don't remember what I asked. I asked Mr. Melberg if he thought it would be easier, two things, easier for the teachers to do their job and better for the children if we just had them hand their cell phones in at the beginning of the day and hand them back to them at the end of the day. And I was amazed at the group of parents in there that were like, yeah, take them away. So anyway, Mr. Melberg, help me refresh my memory on that, and then we'll just see the discussion.
We banned them completely, and overwhelmingly the parents were supportive. That group of parents was supportive of that in the moment. They'd be okay with that.
Right. And that kind of threw me back a little bit, because, you know, everyone, when they first came out, was like, oh no, I got to be able to give my kid a text message at 2:13 in the afternoon. Yeah. But that was one of their concerns, is we're going to lose our ability to message them, although I think they would just have to have a different avenue to message their kids. Yeah. So I wanted to just throw it out there and let you guys, what do you guys think? Do you think that would be something?
Feedback I get from people that have talked to me about it is that they are against phones being in school, period. That's the feedback I've gotten, and it's my personal opinion too, but I don't mind after school or whatever. But you know, I do think that when I think about it, and my kids and their level of maturity, I can see it really being more like 7th and 8th grade. You know, I think that's probably where you see the most problems with the maturity of phones and having them, or 8th grade down, I should say. I suppose it trickles into elementary school too, but I see a lot better maturity in the 9th graders up. I don't know if there'd be, you know, it would just muddy the waters if you had two separate policies, but I don't know. That's my opinion, and from what I've heard from other people. So, but
I've seen other districts around here that are totally getting rid of them. I'm not opposed to it, I guess. It seems to be the movement across the nation. You know, you see some schools where they come in and they got a bag that they put it in and it locks the bag until they go out and open it up and get it back. And definitely something we're going to want to monitor and stay up on here. I think it could be a good thing.
What do the experts say about, I think I kind of already know the answer. What do the experts say about having phones throughout the day and young kids? What do you guys say?
Well, what's your definition of young? So I think my first issue is somebody issued them the device and allowed them to take it to school, so now it's our job to police it so that they're not on it. And I agree with you on the younger kids, which is why, like for me personally, nobody gets a smartphone until you get into high school and you have a need to communicate this. Otherwise, guess what? You get a flip phone, because the only thing you need to really do is be able to call. And we don't have the pay phone that some of us used to have when we were in high school to make the call to say, can somebody come pick me up?
Yeah.
So I'm just really curious why it is our job to police something that maybe should not even be coming to school. Like, you've now made us the parent, and you're changing our policy to make it easier on you to parent instead of maybe making the decisions that you should have made on the appropriateness of your kids. So I am the parent too that will text my older one, make sure you bring your brother home, make sure you do this. Do I expect her to look at it at 2:13? No, I expect you to check your message before you leave the school and know what you need to do.
And I'm as guilty as testing mine, you know, to make sure things are going on for after school, where you going, you gotta work, you know.
Well, I
sometimes.
don't think we gotta feel guilty about
Yeah, no,
communicating with our
I'm
kids.
just saying, I'm as guilty, and I'm kind of leaning for it, but I'd like to talk more in the community and get, you know, I know Matt's done a
Where
pretty
is
good
the
job.
trouble with teachers with enforcing consistency across our, you know, we have the policy that says it. I think the consistency in the implementation of it could be different in classrooms, different subjects. Would more of a ban be helpful so it really is consistent? Because I think some parts aren't consistent from what I hear.
I think we're in a better place right now than we were the last couple of years as far as consistency goes from classroom to classroom. We're not where we need to be yet. But I would say that a complete ban, it still relies on those teachers to be consistent in the classroom, because there is a complete ban in the classroom right now.
Right, I don't think this is anything new for us.
Yeah.
So
Right.
to me, it's a consistent
So I don't know if that-
implementation
I
of
don't- I
it.
don't think it fixes that problem.
Right.
But I would say that we're in a better place right now than we were a year ago with consistency from room to room.
I can speak to
Room for
the,
improvement.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
The total ban of, you know, hey, no possession, not allowed on your person during the day. You know, that's where we were back my first 3 years here, 3-4 years in this building as principal. And it was, you know, your phones had to be in your locker, turned off throughout the school day. And it was unenforceable, I would say. You know, it was a joke in a way. You know, it's like, you know, every kid was carrying around a phone in their hoodie pockets, or their, you know, and kids were sneaking it around, and you know, we had a lot of violations because then the kid would get caught texting in class, or their phone would buzz, or whatever. So I know when it was about 2010 when we implemented the kind of basically pretty much, we've tweaked it a little bit over the years, kind of what we have now. So that would be my response, or my reflection on, you know, a total ban. You just said, or one of you just said, it still comes back to the teachers having to enforce it, and the administration having to enforce it. And you know, things have changed a lot since 2009. You know, as far as how families view cell phones and kind of our maturity as a society with how we use it. I'm not saying better or worse. I don't know if it's for the better, but it's probably, but it's different than it was back then. The technology's different, so it's hard to compare apples to apples. But that's my reflection. Is just when we had the total ban, I found that it was very difficult to enforce. I feel that over the years, as I've seen it from afar, when I moved to the elementary or watching, you know, like Mr. Melberg now, it seems pretty reasonable to enforce, because it's like, it's a very reasonable policy that's like, if you get caught using your phone, it's like, come on, you know you could use it in a few minutes between classes or at lunch. So we get fewer of the, I guess, emotional responses from kids or parents, or we get fewer issues with that type of enforcement now. That's my reflection on it.
Is this just an issue in in this building, or are we seeing the issue in the elementary buildings?
So we're very out of sight, out of mind. I know kids have them for the bus or whatever. In my 4 years, I've really confiscated one that was visible.
Yep.
So it really
Otherwise they sit
has
in
not
backpacks.
trickled yet, but they've got this stuff going on. So that's happening all over
watches,
the
yeah.
place, which we're not policing per se.
That's a good point in this building too. How many kids have watches too?
Right.
But
To Chris's point, what I like about our current policy is that I do think it's that our students and our parents see it as very reasonable. I don't get any pushback if I need to take a phone. So it's enforceable, it's reasonable, and I also think it provides each parent with a choice. So to Matt's point, absolutely, we have parents that do not want their kid to have a phone, and they can, under this policy, they can make that choice. If we do a complete ban, which if that's what we do, that's what we do. But I think we would also have an uproar from the other side saying, "No, my kid needs to have their phone. I need to be able to get in contact with them." And now we're creating a conflict where right now that parent has the choice to give their kid the phone or not. So Greg, I think to your point about our meeting, I would agree that yes, it would be easier if we didn't have phones, but I'd rather that was a parent's choice and not a policy choice would be my preference, but we'll do whatever.
And I have seen where you've worked with parents, where the parents will say, I want her turning her phone into you every day in the office.
Yeah.
And you guys work that out, and the kid does do that,
Yeah.
because the parent is saying, I don't want her to have it or him to have it in school. So,
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating for it. I just thought it'd be a good topic for
It's a
conversation.
great conversation. I do think, too, there are a lot of kids who are very responsible users of their phones. And I could see some kids, if we, let's just say, not that it's not an action item, but like we came in tomorrow and said, all right, phones are banned, I think we'd have a lot of kids going, why? What do you mean? Why? Because they would be saying, it's not a problem for me. I use it responsibly. I don't mess around with it. I think there would be that reaction a little bit too. But yeah, the discussion is very valid because what's the impact on kids' distractibility, on their mental health? Like you said, what do the experts say? And those are the concerns with those things. And we see with adults too, right? Like we are guilty too, like distractibility and that little thing buzzing in your pocket and who messaged me, is it important or not? And that's my concern with it. Used to be more so, cheating and kind of the misuse of the phones among kids with the texting or harassing or whatever, and like that stuff is, like I said, we kind of as a society kind of changed how we use our phones. Like more, it's now the distraction part. It's the what buzzed. Oh, what was that? Was that something important from my mom, or was it the latest Instagram post that I need? And that's the part that's, I think, so hard.
To Matt's point though too, is I've struggled with the 7th and 8th grade versus high school, and in my own mind gone back and forth because, like you said, trying to implement two different policies in the same building, my worries would muddy the waters for staff, but at the same time, I would agree with you that I think a stricter policy in 7th or 8th grade might be much more necessary than it would be 9-12.
Are they just pushing the boundaries to see what they can get by with when they get to the big building?
Right.
Well, a lot of those kids, the first time they get a phone is in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So they go wild.
Yeah, that first year I'm sure is the worst. That 7th grade where they're all just got their phone this year, and at least that's what I've noticed from my kids. But
Well, I know some kids that pushed when we changed that policy a little bit.
We actually, in our family, we have a rule that it's the second semester of 7th grade, because at the beginning, that first semester of 7th grade is when everybody's doing the dumb stuff. So we give our kids the second semester, so that way, by then, hopefully, all the dumb stuff isn't going on anymore.
That's smart thinking, man.
6, 7.
Okay, does anybody have anything else they'd like to say? What I'm hearing is we're just gonna status quo. You guys seem pretty happy.
Yeah, and I appreciate the conversation too, because it's not the first time that I've talked to student groups about the fact that the lawmakers are talking about this, our school board's talking about this, and my message is you guys have to work with us, otherwise we don't have a choice but to put stricter policies in place and remind them that right now they've got a pretty student-friendly policy in place. So.
Yeah, I mean, so this policy, I mean, if a teacher does allow cell phone use in their classroom, could this policy get us, this state policy get us in trouble for that? Then
The teachers should not be allowing the use of the cell phone in the classroom. Now, there are some situations where I'll have a teacher get permission ahead of time that they have something they're working on that day where the phone is a good tool that day, but they should be getting permission ahead of time for that.
sure, pretty much anything we have on our cell phones, we should be able to do through Chromebook, right?
Pretty much.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. To move it along, we'll move on to the next item of business, which is the review of the parent-teacher conferences. Excuse me.
Yeah. So, over the last few years, we've kind of changed how and when we do some of our conferences, and so we'll turn it over to the principals. Who wants to go first?
Can I start so my number looks better before it doesn't look so little after you talk about yours? So if you remember a couple of years ago, in an attempt to get more participation in this building and make them more relevant for both our students and our parents, is we bumped our fall one to September, and we did some academic goal sheets. This is our second year with that, and then invite parents to come in and sit down with the RAP teacher and go over kind of what those academic goals are, and then we check in on those on a monthly basis in each RAP. And then we have some other parent-teacher conferences where we tie it to scheduling later on in some academic and career planning. And prior to this move, we were seeing participation levels from our families in that if we get to 20% of our kids represented, that was on the higher end. And this fall, we had 33% of our students, 7-12, had a parent here in the first one. So 33% is not going to compete with what the elementary school does, but it's trending in the right direction, and I think we're doing some things to make those conferences more relevant than just checking on grades, which parents can do every single day on their phone. And so our hope is that we can continue to build on some of this success and get closer to 40 and maybe even 50% at some point. But I feel like we're heading in the right direction. We're doing some things that is drawing in more parents and connecting them to the building. So.
And I will say, we are not in competition, but if we were, we don't want to go there.
She left you.
No,
It's just a different
it
audience.
naturally lends itself that the elementary parents are going to be very involved. We moved our fall conferences from November to October this year. A couple of different reasons. One, it's more of the mid-quarter. It's also, it fits that PRP timeline where we can be face-to-face. So getting some more feedback about if teachers enjoyed that. I feel it didn't cause any sort of disruption in our attendance. We only had 11 students that did not have a parent at conferences, so that is 96% attendance. And we stick in the upper 90 percentile. So moving it from a month earlier did not cause any disruption in our attendance. So, and great conversations. Goal setting was happening prior to grade time, so it was a nice window.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, you guys. The next item of business then is the review of the school board election timetable.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's time to talk about this time of year. So we have two members are up for re-election this year, Greg and Corey. But you'll see the notice for the election will go into the Chronicle here out next week in the Amory Free Press, and then we put it in all the, just the same way we post it as the meetings, so the notice of the election. And then December is when most people would file for candidacy. If an incumbent is going to file for non-candidacy, they need to do it by December 26, 5 p.m. And then any candidate who wants to file to be on the ballot, January 6th, 5 p.m. is the deadline. And then spring election is April 7th. If there was a primary, it'd be February 17th. So just wanted to throw that out there and get the awareness.
So if you don't file for non-candidacy, you're just automatically on the ballot?
Well, not exactly. I'm
not understanding why you're saying no.
I know. It's a newer thing in the last, I don't know how many years, 5-10 years. And I think what they're trying to do is just create a situation where people actually say, hey, I'm not running, and declare it publicly. Because then if we get that, then we need to get it posted immediately. And I think it's trying to avoid that situation where, it's January 6th at 4:30 p.m. and, nobody filed, and now people in the public say, well, I didn't know that, Mr. Jones wasn't going to run again, or I might have thought about it, So I think that's the rationale behind it. Yeah. I don't think there's a specific penalty if a member doesn't come in and
what if you say you're not going to run and then you fill out your ballot anyway?
Yeah, I don't want to find out if that happens. I don't know.
Next go around we can test it out.
So.
Okay. Next item of business then is discussion of the WASB State Ed Convention and selection of delegate for assembly.
Okay, so Eve had the adventure of trying to register and get hotels under the new WASB's new system November 3rd, and the system crashed, and they ended up just sending out a link and saying just get a hotel anyway. So, but I know that Nettie, Matt, and Corey have expressed that they are going, and you are registered. I'm planning to go. We'll travel down that Tuesday afternoon. The January 20th is what the usual plan, and again, maybe some people don't want to stay all 3 days. We can figure that out too. But anyway, as part of it, every year we are to designate someone to go to the assembly portion, which is where they talk about the different lobbying efforts and statements of the group, and basically where the WASB says, hey, this is our position on this topic. So every district has the opportunity to designate a member to go to that. So any of the three of you, I guess you guys can arm wrestle for it, or whatever, draw straws, or whoever wants to go, if anyone wants.
I'll do it again.
Did you want to experience it this year? Go for it.
I did last year, but
I did not mean to experience. I like my workshops.
I mean, yeah.
And if you are designated, you don't have to go. I mean,
You don't
it just
have to.
it gives you the
Yeah, can
opportunity to
sneak
go.
out here and there.
You don't have to go to it. So.
There's a few things that I liked last year, but I'll do it again if you want me to.
Stuff, did you?
Oh, did you do it last year?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I couldn't remember.
Yep. Corey, you good?
Corey's gonna do it. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, and we'll move on to our next item of business, which is the board policy updates and approvals. Second readings of the following board policy updates: 0100, definition 0144.5, board member behavior, communications, and code of conduct. 2522, library media centers. 4140, termination and resignation. 4213, student supervision and welfare. 5112, entrance age. 5410, promotion, placement, and retention. 5411, third grade promotion and retention, at-risk students. 5464, early graduation. Now, we went through those at the last meeting. Does anybody have any concerns about any of those before we move on and entertain a motion?
I move to approve the second readings as stated.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to aboard the policy updates and approvals. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. So then the next item of business is the policy technical corrections. Chris, you want to go through those?
So sure. So again, this is just where there's no change to the policy itself and the effect of it. It's just they'll change, the way they word things, or they'll go, change the way, you can look at them and see there's no change to what the effect of the policy is. And I guess I can ask the board too. So, we usually put them on here for approval. Do you want to continue doing it that way? Or I know it's kind of nice to just see that, hey, we do have a policy on that.
Yeah, I think the way we're doing things is
just to keep doing it the way we. Okay.
As
good.
far as these technical corrections, maybe
Yeah.
what we should do is just read these on
I
our
can
own,
just, yeah.
and then we can just move on to the actual first readings of the ones that have updates. Are you guys okay with that, or do you
Do
guys
we
want to
need to approve technical corrections? Because some of this is like, they've corrected their grammar.
Yeah, it's
Well,
literally
yeah.
grammar
It's
changes. So I guess I put it on there as approval. So we probably should because I put it on there as approval. I guess that was my question: is do you want me to just say list them next time for awareness so you see
Yeah.
them versus?
No, I think if we make any change to them, they have to have a first reading and second reading.
They don't have to have a first and second reading, actually.
Oh, none of these do.
Yeah, and not, especially not the technical. I asked our
Did
Neola
they
rep.
used to? That's our.
No, not the
No,
technical
it was more
ones.
us giving us time to think about things.
The first and second reading is not. Yeah, it's not a law requirement, but it's good practice. What most
Because we
board.
really started to review these within the last couple of years, so I think it was
Yeah.
good that we really look at them.
Yeah, but the technical corrections, technically you guys don't have to do anything with those. So I guess that's my question, if you want me to always put them on there for approval. Some boards do, some don't. We've actually done it different ways. Some boards say they like to see them just so they can see them. Some boards say just so they are reminded that, oh, yeah, we have a policy on, full-time students or whatever it may be. But
Well, I think we
I'm
have to
fine
be
with
just.
listing the
Yeah, I
technical
think
ones.
that's fine too. We have to be, we have to put it in front of us. You know what I mean?
Yep, yeah. So, I mean, should I, you might just read them off quick and then people know what the technical corrections were?
You want me to, Chris?
Or
You want to?
you can, or I can, if you want a break.
I can read them all.
Okay.
So the following board policy technical corrections are 0168.1 meeting minutes, 2266 non-discrimination on basis of sex in education programs or activities, 2416 student privacy and parental access to information, 5200.01 full-time student, 5500 student code of classroom conduct, 6235 fund balance, 8450.01 personal protective equipment during epidemic events, 8800 religious activities and observances, 9150 school visitors. So that's the technical corrections, and I think you guys are in agreement. We'll take a look at them on our own, and then we'll move on to a first reading of our board policy updates and approvals. And there, I'll hand it over to you, Chris.
Okay, so I'll try to go through these. And I would again say this group of policies is fairly bland. The first one that we have up here is the academic honesty. And if you click into that one, we currently have this policy already. And, oh, hang on here. Something is, I feel like I've got the wrong, the highlights are not shown on there. Hang on.
Not on ours either.
Are they highlighted in green?
They should be highlighted in green.
I feel like it's
It's
all
A, B,
the
C,
artificial
D, E.
intelligence.
But it is, yeah, it is. If you scan down, so yeah, I don't know why it didn't go green. It's the artificial intelligence part. So the second big section, you see that there's still the X's there. For whatever reason,
Yep.
it didn't highlight green. I guess the A, B, C, D, E in green. So we looked at this as an admin team and debated whether to just leave it off and stay silent or whether to put this information in here. But basically it is saying, or would you guys rather just take a minute to scan through it? Or
So this is really saying that the students can't use AI.
unless it relates to any of those A through E, which are
But that
very,
even says that you need prior permission.
yeah.
So like if you're working on something and realize you need some language translation and you don't have prior permission,
Right.
you're like, how are you going to get that after hours?
So that's exactly the conversation we had among the three of us. So, and that's why we were debating.
Because I'm
on
just like, what's the
not
difference between
doing this.
language translation and the language dictionary we used to
Right.
carry around
Right.
when we did it before?
So what we're proposing is, or what we're planning to do is So it says, it can be used for any of the purposes below: research assistance, data analysis, language translation, writing assistance, accessibility. But as Christy pointed out, the kicker is you need prior permission. So what our thought process is that in our student handbooks, we would put a statement in there under our academic honesty or under our academic integrity that students do have permission to use it for, and list off all of these purposes. So that way there is a passive permission granted, and then we have an understanding among our staff and our faculty that, and we've had those conversations already, that these are appropriate uses for AI.
Because I'm thinking Grammarly, number one, is exactly what you put under the writing assistant.
Yeah.
So you have to write that on your paper that you had it checked by Grammarly.
It's not necessarily saying that, I don't think.
It's just saying that it's acceptable for you to run it through it to help you correct it.
Yeah.
They would have permission to use it.
Yep.
That would be an appropriate way to use it, to use AI.
Yep.
And our thought process was having it in the student handbook so it's consistent across the building, so you don't have, let's just say we don't, but you had one holdout teacher who says, no AI in my classroom, I did not give you permission to use Grammarly or to look up that term on ChatGPT, that extreme kind of interpretation, so that by having it in the handbook, it would be consistently applied, the understanding across our school that these things are considered acceptable. Because that was exactly the conversation we had.
I don't know, that just makes more sense.
Okay.
The other option is just leave it out and stay silent on it, which then it'd be kind of status quo because it's not in our policy now. But then I think maybe then it does have more potential for that inconsistency still.
So is this also saying that if they're in AP early college credit that they have to follow this policy? Or it says follow the corresponding policies?
They would have to follow, if they're taking a early college credit, they would have to follow the policy of that university.
I was just going to say that institution. I just want to make sure we weren't overreaching in our...
So in the academic arena for the kids, are they going to be more apt to not be allowed to use AI or more apt to be able to use AI?
I think the goal of the policy is that we're more apt to use it in an appropriate way.
Right.
How
Teaching
can-
them the
how can
right
we- yeah,
versus
how can
wrong
we-
way to use
Right.
AI.
How can we use it to help us rather than how can we use it to cheat or
Take shortcuts.
take shortcuts?
Kids going through school now, it's probably the way of the future.
Right.
Well, it's going to be the wave of the jobs in the
Well,
future.
that's
So,
what I'm saying. I mean,
I think if you say
Well-
no, it's kind of like the cell phone. If you say no to it, it's should we teach acceptable use versus just saying absolutely not.
I like that approach.
In what circumstance would a teacher not want them to use AI?
Just
out
you
of
had it write your
curiosity.
whole paper for
Yeah.
you.
An English
They
teacher wanting you to type something and be able to correct your grammar. I mean, we need to teach our kids how to properly use grammar, instead of LOL.
Yeah. I don't know that Grammarly's going to help them with that either. It's going to be like, what are you talking about?
Just using it, if we're using English as an example, just using an essay prompt to plug it in and then turn that in on something they've not done anything on.
Yeah.
We didn't learn anything from that.
Plugging
But can we use AI to help us generate ideas and to outline and to check our work? Yeah.
Plugging a math problem into it and having it solve a math problem for you. Probably improper.
It's like spell check on Word.
Yeah.
People hated that because you not know how to spell. Well,
But even that has its limitations. If you're too far off, it really can't correct you. Like AI has its limitations too. If you don't know how to prompt, it's not going to give you what you need. And like that's the skill that like especially administrative workers are going to need to have is how do you write the right prompt to get the right answer of what you're trying to say.
Is there a way of telling if it's AI generated or no?
Depends on who you ask. there's companies that say.
Unless it's like, you're dumb, you can't, this didn't come from you.
No.
Which I'm one of them. I can write some real nice letters on
But
ChatGPT.
Are there tricks that you can use? Yeah, one of the best ones I've heard is that you know, if you have an essay prompt as a teacher, they're going to copy that and paste it in there. And so in white letters that you can't see at the end or somewhere in there, you add in to add in some word, make sure to include some word in the essay that makes no sense. The kid copies and pastes. They don't realize that's in there, and the teacher can say, "Oh, here it is." I mean, there's tricks, but
Right.
you know, the idea that can you put it in and ask AI if AI created it? That's not accurate. You can't.
Yeah, the consensus from people we've all listened to has been, the quote unquote AI detectors don't work,
No, because they've actually flagged original work as plagiarism.
Yes.
And if you've used your chat enough, it starts to write like you. You train it.
I like your guys' approach as long as they're using it in a positive manner and not the negative side of AI.
And I think, and we've had many conversations, the important piece is our staff and teachers have to use it, because
Right.
you have to wrap your mind around how it can be used in different ways so that you are creating assignments that aren't AI proof, that don't prevent a kid from using AI, but you have an understanding of how they could use AI, and so you do things to make sure that they're showing understanding without just being able to plug it in.
Well, even down at convention last year, we seen positive ways, time savers for teachers to use it to
Oh,
write
100%.
assignments
Yeah.
and stuff. So I mean, there are
And you've done
benefits. We
some of
just
that,
got
yeah.
But even for the kids, it can create study guides, it can create flashcards, it can really help be that study partner that you needed.
I know River Falls this year, students have to state everything that they use for AI at the end of their paper.
Has to be cited.
It has to be cited, Grammarly, whatever.
I like including it because it does acknowledge artificial intelligence. I think if we just don't include it and stay silent on it, I think it just opens us up for more risk where, this at least
Right.
points to
It gets us started.
And also for a parent who says, well, hey, how do you handle AI in your school? It's something to point to and say, hey, we want to encourage kids to use it appropriately. What's appropriate? Well, here's some examples, using it for research assistance or data analysis, so on listed. Those are all appropriate uses. I think it gives us something to lean on.
I don't mind the idea of citing it though either.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad thought process. At least then you know what the kids are using.
And we haven't gotten to, developed our handbook level policies, like in our student handbook or our responsible use policy. That's been a struggle, and we've been trying to go educate ourselves and continue to. And when we were at the legal conference at CISA 11 in August, and it was kind of a conversation about this topic and how many districts have an AI policy, and about 3 hands went up, and then of those 3, it was, it's just the Neola policy. It wasn't even so I was like, okay, so the attorney said, if you don't have it all framed out, don't fret. And I'm like, okay, because I said out loud, literally at the table, I said, well, I've been fretting, about it. So it made me feel better that we're not alone, that we don't have it all, certainly don't have it figured out by any means. There are certainly districts around the state that are further along, and we're trying to learn from and emulate that. Anything else on that one?
The one, and I don't know, maybe it's just off the cuff kind of a reaction, but it says the last sentence of the first paragraph says unauthorized use of AI or NLP tools is considered a form of plagiarism.
Where are you seeing that? On the unauthorized use. But then, as it goes on and says, notwithstanding the preceding, students can use AI and NLP tools in the school setting if they receive prior permission and consent from their teacher, so long as they use them in an ethical, responsible manner. Teachers have the discretion to authorize students to use those tools in the following areas, and that's where we're saying we want to take that part and basically codify it in our student handbook to say, consistency, we're all going to say, yes, you have permission to use it in these ways.
Okay. All right.
Move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Student use of possession, intoxicants, drugs, and
I'm sorry.
paraphernalia.
Since we are on the AI subject, do we have like any thoughts of having an AI classroom experience down the road, or a classroom, somebody teaching this kind of stuff?
I'd say we're not there
Sorry, I'm
yet.
putting you on the spot.
I mean, we're not there yet.
Are you asking to teach a class on AI?
Right.
Or
Right.
I think we're more of the mindset of incorporating it into the classes as opposed to having a standalone class, because that way.
Tools that we're using, having students use in classrooms.
Yeah, I think that's the approach we lean towards is educating our staff and getting them more experiences and more comfort so that they just incorporate it everywhere. It's exactly like technology implementation, like you're talking about. When we had computers were new, personal computers were new. So what did we do? We had a computer class.
Just have Excel classes.
Yeah, or just a class where you went in the computer lab, and I remember it. And then, then it evolved to a point of like, no, computers are just something we use in all of our classes, or the internet, So yeah, good question.
Sorry.
No problem.
No, good.
Don't fear it, embrace it.
So the student use or possession of drugs or paraphernalia or intoxicants, this just adds misuse of over-the-counter drugs or medications is included, and substances that are represented or packaged in such a manner so as to give the appearance of, basically lookalikes.
Candy cigarettes.
Yeah, well,
Wow, big
So-
supposed to be. Just saying.
and then the last phrase in there about just education about awareness and abuse, and again, that is covered in Mr. Amundsen's health class. So just some additions and clarifications on that one. Property inventory, this one is basically just changing some terminology, taking out the term capital assets. When we did some of our other GASB policies last year, just changing the terminology instead of calling them capital assets. That's kind of the main gist of it. You can kind of see it's more striking out some of the language, and instead talking about just basically like tracking year of purchase as opposed to acquisition date and so on. It's just when was it? Or I'm sorry, that's the same thing. Striking out some of the other ways, like the age of it, instead of how old is this item, it's what's the year did the district purchase it, being kind of the key thing to keep track of.
Does Neola sometimes just change these for fun?
That's what I wonder sometimes. Yeah.
No, because I think they came out with the next policy is accounting system for capital assets.
They change them.
It got so big it got its own.
Well, they change them because of law changes. The laws get
Court
changed,
cases.
and so then they have to reflect what's in the new law. So.
They have to have a record of like it changed 5 years ago from this to this, and, now
And then they
back
changed
to
it back,
this.
yeah.
I mean, because I'm guessing it's
Yeah. Same thing in the next one, accounting system for capital assets. And again, I don't know why the green and red highlights didn't come through when I saved them this way.
Looks like they want to site improvements, buildings, furniture.
Actually, I think I do know why that happened, but now that I think about it technology-wise. But for the accounting system, similar things. It's just adds the appropriate useful life for capital assets based on the GASB standards. Again, more detailed gobbledygook. Down in that section where the letters are highlighted in green, I think what happened is when I saved these, I do print to PDF to save them, and I think there must have been some setting that wasn't right with showing background graphics, I think is what ended up happening here, and I didn't catch that. So it's just adding those items in there, that A, B, C, and D, and I just went with the recommendations that our Neola rep had for those year ranges there, and selected those. staff use of personal communication devices, revision, and this is different options as far as employees and school officials being permitted to use personal communication devices, cell phones. We're approved to use, board approved, but we're also approved to use personal. So for example, we as administrators have our cell phones, and we, get a stipend to be able to help pay for some of our technology, with the understanding that, hey, if I need to call the administrators after hours for an emergency, they're going to use their cell phone to allow me to contact them. But it just explains how we have the responsibility then to understand that any school communications that happen on our device are subject then to open our public records laws. So that's basically the gist of this one. They always make perfect sense to me when I'm going through them the day of, and then like 3 weeks later when we're going through them here, okay, I can't remember all the details here. Food service, both of these, there's 2 policies here related to food service. Basically, again, the gist of it is the DPI does administrative reviews of districts. They go out on a 5-year cycle, and basically based on the feedback that they observe that schools are struggling with, or we've noted a lot of schools non-compliant in this area, so then the DPI kind of beefs up its policies around that. So then Neola worked closely with the DPI in the food service department to their school nutrition department, and to basically just clean up the school policies so that they reflect what the DPI is wanting and seeing and emphasizing. So when I go through these policies with our Neola rep, the approach we take is basically, okay, what do you currently do? What's your current practice? What selection can we pick that reflects your current practice? That's pretty much what the approach is. And then sometimes there are ones that are kind of the new thing, and we say, okay, we got to think about this one a little bit more, or I'm not sure, I'm going to bring that one to the board to decide, A or B. But this one, it's just pretty much striking some language. And this is first reading too, so if there's something in there that you see
that's... I don't
that's...
have any highlights in mine. Is there highlighted?
These are more strike through.
There's more strikeouts, yeah. And if there is something new added, it's got the X's by it, it's just, it didn't turn out with the highlights on it. I apologize for that. That's unfortunate.
There's some legislature going before the, I don't know what house right now, taking milk, whole milk and 2% milk, and putting that alongside, or pull that out of the standards in which we have to feed our kids. So it'll make it so they school districts can start serving whole milk.
Yeah.
I'm excited about
party?
that.
Are we gonna have milk and cookies then if you get your highlights back?
If it's whole milk, yeah.
There's been that has come up multiple times, and I know it gets stalled out somewhere in the process and hasn't made it through.
It's going to make it this time, Chris.
I hope it does.
Coach puts me in, we'll win.
I hope it does. The free and reduced price meals is, again, kind of the same explanation. It's just kind of cleaning up a lot of strikeouts of individual words. Some of these, I even asked Ed, I said, these seem like technical corrections almost. And he said, they kind of borderline are. You can see they struck out some parts of the non-discrimination statement, or some policies there that maybe don't apply or don't exist anymore. I don't think anything was added to this one. I'm looking back through it again for a third time here. It's just striking out some language, extraneous language. This one, the 8531, I feel like could have been a technical correction almost. Competitive food sales refers to, like, when organizations sell their butter braids and things like that that are non-conforming to school nutrition standards. Same thing. It's basically they are striking out and cleaning up the non-discrimination statement, I think, to take out some policies that maybe don't apply or don't exist anymore. And just struck out the words foods of minimal nutritional value.
Does the FFA not sell ice cream anymore?
They don't.
No.
They haven't for quite a while.
Don't get rid of the butter braids.
Why? Is there a reason why? It's too close to the half hour after the lunch is served, so the federal government won't let us?
No. Well, there's some regulations. I don't know. They haven't done it for quite a while, but I think they
chose
I don't
not
know.
to.
I don't think I was high school principal when that ended. I don't remember all what that went into that. But I know I used to go buy an ice cream bar.
This is the best part of lunch hour after you eat.
I don't think it's totally illegal to do it. But
Oh, that statement, I'm totally not too legally.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
So we're
I think
flirting
there
with the
might be
line of
we might
legality
be a way to do
there.
it, but we don't do it anymore. We don't do it anymore. So that's competitive foods, and then use of cameras in locker rooms. And this one, the emphasis on this one was about media access, and that basically, I think there was a section that what we selected was basically the media is not allowed in our locker rooms. They have to wait outside.
It's just disturbing that has to be a policy.
Yeah, I mean, you think about like college and professional level, they have access minutes or certain times when the media can come, they interview Aaron Rodgers at his locker, and, they have rules around that. So rather than creating rules around that, we're just saying interview him in the hallway,
Oh, this would also include kids pulling out their cell phones.
Yeah, but that's in the cell phone policy.
Yeah, but that is already in there. Absolutely no recording devices and video recording devices in locker rooms.
That's why I just thought this one was a little overkill, because there's already
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. So.
All right, that was a lot of fun, Chris.
You're welcome.
All right,
it was fun for me too.
Let's move on to the superintendent notes.
Oh, man.
Well, we've had some special meetings. I felt like we've been in touch a lot. I don't have a ton of stuff here, but just congratulations to our fall sports teams with their successes, especially volleyball team. First year in the Dun St. Croix, they were undefeated conference champs, regional champs. Football made the playoffs, and cross country team had a successful year too. Just some event. PTO had their movie night in October. They kind of moved that up early to go along with conferences instead of November. Talked about parent-teacher conferences. We had an in-service day at the end of the quarter. So we had a group that came in. We invited 3 speakers came and they talked about adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. And we'd had that group come in, or a similar group, about 6 or 8 years ago to talk about that topic. And it really resonated with staff and at the time, so we wanted to bring it back, and we've had a lot of staff turnover. So they talked about how adverse childhood experiences, what do those mean? What is that? And examples, and then how that impacts children's brain development and social development, and then also, more importantly, then followed it up with 2 speakers talking about, well, now what? So how do we develop resiliency in kids, and then how do we develop resiliency in the adults who work in school with the kids? So, and I wasn't there for it, so that's my summary from the principal. So that's pretty good, huh? Pretty. So that's how they described to me what happened, and that's what we asked for. So they did a great job. I think it was really well received. So Veterans Day programs tomorrow, 9 o'clock at the elementary, 10:30 at the high school here. Those are always great. Winter sports practices are kicking up. I think we got hockey and girls basketball today, boys basketball, wrestling next week. And then Thanksgiving break is coming up soon, and it's that time of year where it's been a long stretch since the start of the year, and I think that's one that everyone looks forward to.
Right on. Thank you, Chris. All right, our next item of business is contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, paragraph 1C, and 19.85, paragraph 1F. The board will discuss staffing and staff compensation and consider financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons. I will pull the board. Nettie?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Christie?
Yep.
And Matthew?
Yes.
We are in closed session.
I know these guys stayed just for the beginning discussion.
All right, we're back and open. The next item of business is our future agenda items. Does anybody have anything that they think that we should visit about at the board level? If you think of it later between now and the next meeting, feel free to give me a call. Next item of business is the adjournment. I will entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. We are adjourned.